I am Virgil Hollender. I was a DP2 on the USS Simon Lake. My father's name was Henry Richard Hollender. I have his middle name. My son has his middle name. My grandson has his middle name. My first name is my grandfather's on my mother's side, though. Anyway, he was a radioman in the Navy during World War II. He enlisted not too long after Pearl Harbor. I think he had to finish school and then he enlisted. Went to boot camp at Great Lakes. He did tell me that. Then he went to school where he learned to be a radioman, learned Morse code, all that stuff. And then got assigned to a brand new ship, the USS Crockett. He was a plank owner. They put the ship in service, they put it through its paces, and then took it around from the East Coast through the canal, I guess, and out to the Pacific. And they started shuttling the troops over to the islands. This was, at this point, you're talking about more towards the end of it. This wasn't the first few islands that when they were doing the island hopping. This was a little bit later on. He didn't talk much about that. As a matter of fact, he told me two things directly. And one was that his favorite Liberty port was when they were coming back after World War II, and it was Havana, Cuba. It was amazing, I guess, back then before Castro. The other thing he told me was, and this was, I think, after I went in the Navy, it was kind of a warning to follow orders. Since the radiomen were at a premium in the Navy back then, I think he said there were only two on his ship, him and this other guy. If they were at general quarters, they were not allowed up on deck, even if they weren't actively involved in the radio at the time. And he said that he stuck his, he heard all the noise one day. This was as they were getting ready to land troops on one of the islands. I guess they were shooting the guns, but the bigger ships were shooting more. And they were getting ready to load the troops on. And he heard all this noise, and he opened the hatch to go out on the weather deck, and he said about that time, a piece of a Japanese plane went whizzing past his head. It had just been shot down, basically, but pieces of it hit the ship. He said he closed that hatch and followed orders from then on. That's the way he told the story. Now, after he passed away, I got a hold of his pictures that he took. And there was a picture of him with a basically bloody bruised face. And you could tell it was on the ship from the background. And then there's some other ships, pictures after he got off the ship. Apparently, he was sent to the hospital in the Philippines, because behind one of the pictures that he had taken where it was in the Philippines, he said, while at the hospital in the Philippines. And that had me look further. And I found on the logs from the USS Crockett that there was logged that the ship, while getting ready for operations, was attacked by a kamikaze. It was shot down before it made it all the way to the ship, but pieces struck the ship, minor damage, and a couple of minor casualties. My father did not get the Purple Heart, probably because he was where he wasn't supposed to be, even though he was injured as a result of combat. Maybe that's what he was trying to tell me. Follow orders, there's a reason for them sometimes. But those are the only two stories he told me. Now, I know the Crockett went on, it did a couple of landings, It also brought the troops that were part of the occupation force to Japan. There is a picture that I believe was taken in Tokyo Bay where all you see is a sea of ships. I believe the Crockett was there, Tokyo Bay, during the time of the surrender. Then eventually the Crockett was used to start taking troops home, which was pleasant duty. And then sometime after the war ended, they took the Crockett back around to the East Coast and discharged all the sailors. My father was discharged as a radioman first class. By the way, that episode with him sticking his head out, he had been a second class radioman, and then the reports on the ship after that where he's listed again, he was listed as a third class for a little while. He didn't tell me anything about that, but it certainly looks like he got in big trouble for being where he should have been. He didn't tell me that part of it, per se. But the Crockett was named after the city in Tennessee, I believe, that's named after Davy Crockett. So in a sense, named after Davy Crockett. It had a short but proud history, I think. Like I said earlier, my father was part of the Greatest Generation. He was only a small part of it, but he was a part of it, and I wish that he had left more memories behind of his time in the Navy. I wish there were more I could talk about what he did, but he was proud of his Navy time. There was a picture that hung downstairs in our house when I was a kid of him in his uniform. He was a third class at the time. This looked like one of those pictures that they took it and then they made it look like a painted portrait because I guess they used paint to colorize it, all that. His plank owner certificate was down there also from the Crockett, and he certainly hung on to that stuff, but he never joined the American Legion or any of those things. He was very busy. He left the Navy and used the GI Bill to go to the University of Miami and got his degree as a social worker, and then went on to get his master's degree as a social worker and worked for the state of New Jersey, rose up to be the chief of the Bureau of Children's Services, which is what they called it before it was DYFS, Division of Youth and Family Services. He continued to work for them for a while, but there were other people put on top of him. I think he was proud that he served, but like a lot of other people from his generation, just did not talk much about it.